जस्ट टू रिकैपिटुलेट कि पिछले क्लास में हमने क्या पढ़ा था. So there were 5 pairs of pharyngeal arches. Out of that, the 5th arch. So you can see this is a very important topic from exam point of view, as well as you will be having multiple choice questions also from this chapter. So just concentrate. No talking. 5 arches. There were 6 pair of arches. The 5th arch it disappeared, and the rest they remained. And if we see, every arch has got what it is made up of. How many germ layers? यहीं से पूछ लेते हैं. हाँ, तुम बताओ बेटा. तुमको पूछ रही हूँ. हाँ, ये जो pharyngeal arches हैं, ये 5 pairs हैं. कौन कौन से जर्म लेयर से मिलके एक आर्च बना है? कितनी जर्म लेयर्स इसमें कंट्रीब्यूट करते हैं? 3. All the 3 germ layers are there in each arch. So how many germ layers are there? 3. And what are they? Endoderm, mesoderm and ectoderm. So if we look at each arch, you can make out there is endodermal, sit down, there is endodermal lining on inside and there is ectodermal lining on the outside. Then what else is there in each arch? ये सब क्या है? Each arch has got its own artery, its own nerve, and then the muscles are also derived from the arches. So there is a mesodermal component, there is an endodermal component, and then there is ectodermal component in each arch. So total 6 pair of arches, the 5th one disappears, so 5 pairs of arches. अगर schematic diagram ऐसे हम देखें, तो on the inner side there are endodermal pouches and on the outer side there are ectodermal clefts. So अगर 5 pair of arches हैं, there will be 4 ectodermal clefts and 4 endodermal pouches. So we have to read the derivatives of the 4 ectodermal clefts and 4 endodermal pouches, and then the mesodermal derivatives of the arches. Each arch has got its own cartilage, its own nerve and its own artery. Then these are some of the swellings which are appearing in the endodermal region in the midline also. When we will be seeing the endodermal components, तो ये भी discuss करेंगे कि ये क्या develop हो रहा है. किसे याद है what is the nerve of the first arch? What is the cartilage of the first arch? Meckel's cartilage. So if we see, the Meckel's cartilage is the cartilage of the first arch. What is being developed from the first arch? If you just look at this diagram, you can make out the mesodermal derivatives of the arches. So from the first arch, what is developing? Mandibular nerve is its nerve. It is supplied by mandibular nerve, but mesodermal component is giving rise to malleus and incus. And then around the Meckel's cartilage, what is developing is the mandible. Then 2 ligaments are also derived from the first arch. From the malleus, it is the anterior ligament of the malleus. And then there is sphenomandibular ligament. So mandible, malleus, incus, and these sphenomandibular ligament and anterior ligament of malleus, they are derived from the first arch. Then from the second arch in blue color, you can make out stapes is derived from the second arch. And then the other bone which is present in the neck, that is the hyoid bone. पूरा hyoid bone, इसको बुलाना जरा. हाँ, ये पीछे जो गर्ल है. हाँ हाँ बेटा, उधर इधर. हाँ, stand up. What are the derivatives of the second arch? आप लास्ट क्लास में थे, तो अब इस क्लास में आप यहाँ आ जाओ. एक तो तुम वहां से उठो, इधर आओ, चलो. What are the derivatives of the second arch? हाँ, तुम बताओगे. हाँ हाँ हाँ. अरे तो यहाँ दिख रहा है, क्या दिख रहा है तुम्हें? ब्लू कलर से क्या क्या डिराइव हो रहा है? खड़े हो जाओ, चलो बोलो क्या क्या है ब्लू कलर से, क्या क्या है? स्टेपीज डिराइव हो रही है, फिर ये क्या है? स्टाइलॉइड प्रोसेस, और यहाँ पे हायोइड बोन का the upper part of the hyoid bone and the lesser cornea or lesser horn of the hyoid bone. They are derived from the second arch along with a ligament, that is stylohyoid ligament, which is connecting the styloid process with the hyoid bone. Then in the yellow color you can make out the derivative of the third arch, that is the lower part of the hyoid bone and the greater horn of the hyoid bone. This upper part and lesser horn, actually it is smaller, that is why it is known as lesser horn or lesser cornea. Then lower part of the body of the hyoid and the greater horn, or the, we can say it is the larger process of the hyoid bone, or that is derived from the third arch. Then fourth arch, it is giving rise to what? It is giving rise to the cartilages of the larynx. Both fourth and sixth arches, they are giving rise to the cartilages of the larynx. Only one cartilage is not derived from pharyngeal arches, that is the epiglottis. We will be discussing how, from where the epiglottis is derived. That is also derived from an endodermal process, but we will be seeing. And then this is the trachea. So what is the nerve of the first arch? Mandibular nerve. Then nerve of the second arch is the facial nerve. So all the muscles which are derived from first arch, they will be supplied by mandibular nerve. From the facial nerve will supply the muscles of the second arch. The glossopharyngeal nerve is the nerve of third arch. Then superior laryngeal and the recurrent laryngeal nerve, both are the branches of vagus nerve. They will be supplying the muscles derived from fourth and sixth arches. Only a single muscle is derived from third arch. What is that muscle? Stylopharyngeus. Always remember, stylopharyngeus is the single muscle that is derived from the third arch. The first arch muscles are the muscles of mastication. They are temporalis, masseter, medial pterygoid and lateral pterygoid. Along with that, mylohyoid, anterior belly of digastric, the two tensors, the tensor villi palatini and tensor tympani. Anterior belly of digastric is supplied by mandibular nerve, and posterior belly of digastric is supplied by facial nerve, because that is derived from the second arch. So second arch, the muscles of the facial expression, they are derived from the second arch along with posterior belly of digastric, the stapedius muscle attached to the stapes, the stylohyoid muscle and the posterior belly of digastric. So facial muscle, posterior belly, stylohyoid and stapedius muscles, they are derived from the second arch. Then a single muscle is derived from third arch, that is the stylopharyngeus muscle. So which nerve will supply the stylopharyngeus muscle? Glossopharyngeal nerve, because that is the nerve of the third arch. Then fourth arch muscles are the constrictors of the pharynx. They are superior constrictor, middle constrictor and inferior constrictor. Along with that, cricothyroid and levator villi palatini. Then all the intrinsic muscles of the larynx except cricothyroid, they are derived from sixth arch. What is the nerve of the sixth arch? Recurrent laryngeal nerve. So this question is very commonly asked. Which of the muscles of larynx is not supplied by recurrent laryngeal nerve? That is the cricothyroid, because it is derived from fourth arch. So that will be supplied by the nerve of the fourth arch, that is superior laryngeal nerve. So when you will be reading the gross anatomy of the larynx, you can correlate these things with there also. Now the just a recapitulation of the arteries. Every arch has got its own artery. The artery of the first arch is the maxillary artery. Maxillary artery is the branch of from here. Maxillary artery is the branch of which bigger artery? There are two terminal branches of external carotid artery. One is maxillary and second is superficial temporal. So maxillary artery, then the stapedial artery is the artery of the second arch. The third aortic arch is meant for the development of common carotid and internal carotid. ये याद रखना इसलिए जरूरी है because when we will be reading the syndrome, suppose if first arch syndrome occurs, then which artery will not develop? The maxillary artery. If the second arch syndrome occurs, which artery will not develop? The stapedial artery. So just you have to mug up these things. Then fourth aortic arch on the left side, the arch of aorta develops from that, and on the right side there is right subclavian artery. Then the sixth arch, because fifth one disappears, that is meant for the development of two pulmonary arteries, the right pulmonary artery and the left pulmonary artery. These questions are very frequently asked as multiple choice questions wherever you go, chahe pre-PG exam ho. Embryology is very commonly asked as multiple choice question. Then you have to look back at these things, just go through these things ki ye kya hai. Then now I am coming to the derivatives of the ectodermal clefts. On the last term, we have discussed the derivatives of the mesodermal component. Today we will be discussing the ectodermal derivatives and the endodermal derivatives. So, how many ectodermal clefts are there? 4, because there are 5 pair of arches. So, 4 ectodermal clefts, but there are only derivatives of the first ectodermal cleft. Rest you can see the second arch, it grows downwards and then it covers the other ectodermal clefts. So there is no derivative of these ectodermal clefts. Only first ectodermal cleft has got certain derivatives. So what is derived from first ectodermal cleft is skin over the lower jaw, skin over the upper jaw, the tragus of the auricle, the ectoderm which covers the maxillary and mandibular process, and very important which you have to remember, that is the lining of external acoustic meatus. So lining of the external ear is derived from the first ectodermal cleft, and then the external layer or the cuticular layer of the tympanic membrane. आज हम बात करेंगे वेयर इज दिस टिम्पैनिक मेम्ब्रेन सिचुएटेड, कहाँ सिचुएटेड है ये? बिटवीन एक्सटर्नल ईयर एंड द मिडिल ईयर. Tympanic membrane is derived from all the 3 germ layers. It has got 3 layers: the external layer, middle layer and the inner layer. So inner layer of the tympanic membrane is towards the middle ear and external layer is towards the external layer. So that external layer of the tympanic membrane or the cuticular layer of tympanic membrane, along with the lining of external acoustic meatus, it is derived from first ectodermal cleft. Along with that, the skin over the maxilla, the skin over the mandible, that is also derived from the first ectodermal cleft. Only there are derivatives of first ectodermal cleft. The other clefts, they disappear because the second cleft you can see, or the second arch you can see, it grows over the third and the second, third and fourth cleft. So this gap you can see, it is formed on the third and fourth arch. That gap is known as cervical sinus. So this gap which is created between the overgrowing second arch and the third and fourth ectodermal cleft, this gap is known as cervical sinus. This cervical sinus, it usually disappears, but if it remains, it leads to certain anomalies. Now the endodermal derivatives. So endodermal derivatives can be grouped as lateral derivatives and the ventral derivatives. So lateral derivatives, they arise from pharyngeal pouches, and ventral derivatives, they develop in the midline in the floor of primitive pharynx. Because you have made out, I think, ki arches are developing at the lateral margin or in the walls of the pharynx. Midline में pharynx में कुछ भी नहीं था, तो midline में क्या है? There are certain endodermal swellings. So we will be seeing the lateral derivatives and the ventral derivatives. So how many pharyngeal pouches are there? There are 4 pairs of the pouches, and they develop in craniocaudal sequence. The first pouch is formed between the first and the second pharyngeal arch. You just forget about the ventral and the dorsal part. अगर एक pouch के क्या क्या derivatives हैं उतना भी याद रह जाता है तो that is good enough. So first pharyngeal pouch, it forms a recess that is known as tubotympanic recess. So tubotympanic बता सकते हो tubal part से क्या develop होगा, tympanic part से क्या develop होगा? The tubal component will give rise to eustachian tube, and tympanum means middle ear. So eustachian tube connects the middle ear with the nasopharynx. So tubotympanic recess, it gives rise to auditory tube or the eustachian tube, that is also known as pharyngotympanic tube, and the lateral part or the tympanic part, it gives rise to middle ear cavity. So you can make out the external ear was developing from ectodermal cleft and the middle ear is developing from the first endodermal pouch. So middle ear, the mucous lining of the tympanic cavity or the middle ear, the mastoid antrum, mastoid ear cells, mucous layer of the tympanic membrane, the innermost layer of the tympanic membrane. So these components, they are derived from first pouch. और कुछ भी अगर याद नहीं रहता है तो फर्स्ट पाउच से क्या डेवलप हो रहा है? ट्यूबोटिम्पैनिक रीसेस. Tubal part gives rise to eustachian tube, tympanic part gives rise to middle ear cavity or the tympanum. So and then mastoid ear cells, the mastoid part, that is an extension from the middle ear cavity, so its inner lining, that is also derived from the first pouch. Then in this picture you can make out the other derivatives of the endodermal pouches. So first is the auditory tube. The external acoustic meatus was derived from the cleft. Then from the first pouch there is auditory tube and tympanic cavity. From the second pouch you can make out the palatine tonsils are developing from the second pouch. So palatine tonsils, they are giving rise to the palatine tonsils, they are derived from second pouch. Then there are the parathyroid glands. The lower pair of the parathyroid glands, it is derived from the third pouch along with the thymus. हम देखेंगे next slide में. And then the upper pair of the parathyroid gland, that is derived from the fourth pouch. How many parathyroid glands are there? 4. There are 2 pairs. They are located on the posterior border of the thyroid gland. This is midline, so it is trachea. You can make out this is thymus, this is thyroid gland. So on the posterior border of the thyroid gland, there are 2 pairs of the parathyroid gland. The lower pair is derived from the third arch and upper pair is derived from the fourth arch. So what are the derivatives of the second pouch? Only single thing develops from second pouch. That is what? Palatine tonsil. एक वर्ड बस याद रखना है. फर्स्ट पाउच से क्या है? ट्यूबोटिम्पैनिक रीसेस. सेकेंड पाउच से क्या है? पैलेटाइन टॉन्सिल. थर्ड पाउच से क्या है? थाइमस एंड लोअर पेयर ऑफ पैराथायरॉइड. एंड फोर्थ पाउच से क्या है? अपर पेयर ऑफ पैराथायरॉइड. बाकी डिटेल्स हम देख लेते हैं. तो सेकेंड पाउच से ये इसको चाहो तो लिख लो, बिकॉज व्हेन यू विल बी हैविंग अ क्वेश्चन ऑन ग्रॉस एनाटॉमी, शायद तुमने पिछला पेपर देखा भी हो, तो डेवलपमेंट ऑफ पैलेटाइन टॉन्सिल इज ऑल्सो आस्क्ड इन दैट बिग क्वेश्चन. So from where the palatine tonsils are developing? They are developing from second endodermal pouch. Palatine tonsil is which kind of organ? Lymphoid organ. So there are lymphocytes. Along with that, it is lined by endoderm and the lining of the oral cavity. That is the lining of that palatine tonsil. So endoderm proliferates as solid bud and it grows into mesenchyme. Certain cells of these buds form a larger crypt that is known as crypta magna. Sometimes this can be asked as a question that crypta magna in the palatine tonsil is a derivative of. So it is a derivative of the second pharyngeal pouch or the endodermal pouch. So they develop around the 20 weeks of development. The lymphoid tissue, it organizes into lymphatic nodules of the palatine tonsil, and these clefts, they develop on the surface of the palatine tonsils. These are the palatine tonsils. These are the tonsillar crypts. Tonsillar crypts. One larger crypt of the this palatine tonsil is known as crypta magna. So that is derived from the second pouch. Then third pouch, it gives rise to the inferior pair of the parathyroid gland and the thymus gland. So thymus gland and the inferior pair of parathyroid gland, they are derived from the third pouch. Then fourth pouch, it gives rise to superior parathyroid gland or superior pair of parathyroid gland, and it forms a caudal pharyngeal complex. अब ये जो caudal pharyngeal complex है, ये फिर तीन जगह these cells migrate. One forms the thymic element, second forms the lateral thyroid element, and the last component is ultimobranchial body. एक बार बता देती हूँ ये कहाँ है. Thymic element जो होगा that will go to thymus, and lateral thyroid element will go to the lobes of the thyroid gland, because thyroid gland is a bilobed gland that is connected by isthmus. तो isthmus तो अभी देखेंगे कहाँ से developed हो रहा है. जो lateral two lobes हैं उसके अंदर एक lateral thyroid element that gives rise to the a part of the two lateral lobes of the thyroid gland, and ultimobranchial body, it forms parafollicular cells of the thyroid gland. This can be asked as MCQ. Ultimobranchial body, it gives rise to parafollicular cells of the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland produces which hormone? Who is going to tell me? Thyroxine and thyrocalcitonin. So that thyrocalcitonin is secreted by parafollicular cells, and those parafollicular cells are derived from ultimobranchial body. So both the hormones, they are secreted by two different kinds of cells, and they are developed from two different sources. Then there is a pharyngeal membrane also in the. There are 4 pharyngeal membranes in the pharyngeal arches. जहां जहां भी ectoderm और endoderm contact में आ रहा है, that is giving rise to pharyngeal membrane. लेकिन सारे disappear हो रहे हैं, सिर्फ एक ही only first pharyngeal membrane is left, and that is giving rise to tympanic membrane. इसको ऐसे भी याद रख सकते हैं कि tympanic membrane has got 3 layers. The outer layer is derived from ectoderm, middle one is from the mesenchyme, and inner layer is from the endoderm. And then these 3 layers, if combinedly we say, that is derived from first pharyngeal membrane along with an intervening layer of the mesenchyme. Now some of the applied aspects related to the pharyngeal arches. So if the pharyngeal arches, they develop normally, then you know the neck is developed, the thymus will develop, the thyroid gland will develop. कई बार क्या होता है, there are certain gaps left in the development of the pharyngeal arches. So what will develop? Either the sinuses will develop or the fistula will develop. So if a part or some portion of the pharyngeal arch that will open externally, then that is known as external branchial sinus. What is the difference between sinus and fistula? What is the difference between sinus and fistula? Sinus has fluid in it and fistula doesn't have. It might contain solid. ऐसा है? नहीं. Fistula is something, it's a passage which is open at both the ends. It has an internal opening as well as an external opening. The one end of sinus is blind. That means it is closed on one side and it is open on the other side. So branchial sinus भी बन सकता है and branchial fistula might form, because then the fistula will open interiorly and sinus will open exteriorly. तो sinus अगर open होगा, कहाँ हमें suppose some child comes to you और आपको इसको differentiate करना है कि ये congenital है या बाद में कोई इन्फेक्शन डेवलप हुआ है, तो मोस्ट कॉमनली अगर कंजनाइटल होगा तो एक्सटर्नल साइनस की ओपनिंग कहाँ होगी? इट विल डिस्चार्ज एट द एंटीरियर बॉर्डर ऑफ द sternocleidomastoid muscle. So if in the anterior triangle you are getting some opening and then it is discharging some fluid, it can be a branchial sinus which can be congenital. Internal इसकी opening कहाँ होगी? अगर fistula बना है then that will discharge into the intratonsillar fossa. So its internal opening will be in the palatine tonsils, because palatine tonsils are derived from the second pharyngeal pouch. So that is why the internal opening most commonly it is in the, this is the picture of the branchial sinus located in the neck. Then there might be branchial fistula. So if there is branchial fistula, you can see in the picture it is opening internally onto the intratonsillar cleft, and externally it is discharging its mucus in the region of neck. And in neck also, where the opening will be located? Most commonly anterior to the sternocleidomastoid muscle, or in the skin over the anterior triangle, because behind the sternocleidomastoid there is posterior triangle. So persistence of second pharyngeal pouch and cleft, it can give rise to that. Then there can be formation of the branchial cyst also. These are very common, so that is why these things can be asked. So branchial cyst agar hai, what is cyst? What is cyst? It is a fluid filled cavity and it is lined by some membrane that will secrete the fluid, and most of the time that is infectious. So this branchial cyst will more commonly, it will be located anterior to the sternocleidomastoid, nearer to the angle of mandible. And you can see in the picture, it has got enlarged, and in the neck you can see this is a bigger branchial cyst which is visible. Then we can say it is the CT scan, it is an enlarged cavity, these are the vertebra. So on the side of the neck, this swelling won't be present in the midline. It will be present lateral to the midline. Why? Because there are two pairs of pharyngeal arches which are developing laterally. They are not developing in the midline. So midline swelling hai, then you will think of the swellings of the thyroid gland, the structures which are present in the midline. So swelling which is present laterally anterior to the sternocleidomastoid, and that is discharging something. So you can think of branchial sinus fistula. If it is closed, not discharging anything, it can be a cystic swelling. So branchial cyst. Then coming to the syndrome, 3 syndrome के बारे में हम आज बात करेंगे. I want you people to write about these. कुछ syndromes फर्स्ट ईयर में याद कर लो, क्योंकि तुम्हें आगे पीडियाट्रिक्स में करने ही है, सब जगह होगा ही. तो आज मैं 3 syndrome जो करा रही हूँ वो एक बार उनको नोट डाउन कर लेना. So first is the first arch syndrome. ये तो जनरल है. अगर फर्स्ट आर्च में सिंड्रोम होगा तो क्या क्या स्ट्रक्चर्स डेवलप नहीं होंगे? ईयर में प्रॉब्लम हमने देखा, एक्सटर्नल ईयर, मिडिल ईयर, दे विल नॉट डेवलप और नॉट डेवलप प्रॉपरली. देन एनॉमलीज ऑफ ईयर, मैंडिबल, फेस एंड पैलेट. फेस, नोज और पैलेट हम नेक्स्ट क्लास में पढ़ेंगे वो कैसे डेवलप हो रहे हैं. बट अभी तक तुम्हें ये पता होगा कि palate is made up of which 2 bones? Maxilla and the palatine bone. So maxilla is derived from which arch? First pharyngeal arch. So palate will not develop normally if there is first arch syndrome. Along with that, mandible won't develop, ears won't develop normally, and then face and the फेस विल ऑल्सो नॉट डेवलप, क्योंकि हमने जाइगोमैटिक बोन देखा था, दैट इज ऑल्सो जाइगोमा चला गया, मैक्सिला चला गया, मैंडिबल चला गया, तो फेस की एनॉमलीज मिल सकती है. डिटेल में कल पढ़ेंगे. 2 सिंड्रोम्स हैं, वन इज टीचर कॉलिन सिंड्रोम, सेकेंड इज पियरे रॉबिन सिंड्रोम. बोथ आर कॉमन फर्स्ट आर्च सिंड्रोम. ये जो टीचर कॉलिन सिंड्रोम है, एक इजिप्शियन ऑफ्थेल्मोलॉजिस्ट थे, एडवर्ड टीचर करके उनके नाम से है, टीचर कॉलिन सिंड्रोम. एंड देन द 4 features which are more symptoms which are commonly found in this syndrome, they are malar hypoplasia. Malar is जाइगोमैटिक बोन. सो चीक्स का अगर हाइपोप्लेजिया हो जाता है, फर्स्ट वाला पिक्चर देखो, जाइगोमा जो चीक जो प्रोमिनेंस है दैट इज नॉट विजिबल. सो मेलार हाइपोप्लेजिया, द डाउन स्लैंटिंग पाल्पेब्रल फिशर, this is very peculiar to the Teacher Collins syndrome. Down slanting palpebral fissure. What is palpebral fissure? The gap between the upper eyelid and the lower eyelid, the visible portion of the eyeball. So it is down slanting. You can make out the difference. नीचे वाले पिक्चर में eyes normal दिख रही हैं और first वाले में there is down slanting palpebral fissure. There is defect of the lower eyelid. There are malformation of external, internal and middle ears. So that is what is happening in the Teacher Collins syndrome. Complete ये सारे फीचर्स भी मिल सकते हैं, कुछ चीजें भी मिल सकती हैं, लेकिन मैंने देखा उसमें जो लिटरेचर था, सर्वाइवल ठीक है, मतलब एज सच इंटरनल बहुत ज्यादा डिफिकल्टीज नहीं है, तो द चाइल्ड विल सर्वाइव. Then the next syndrome is the Pierre-Robin syndrome. Then in this there is extreme micrognathia. Mandible is affected. तो इन दोनों में डिफरेंस ही आप कैसे करेंगे? इसमें मैंडिबल फिर भी ठीक है, इसमें मैंडिबल देयर विल बी एक्सट्रीम माइक्रोग्नेथिया, there will be glossoptosis, the tongue will be protruded and the large tongue can obstruct the pharyngeal airway and there is respiratory distress. So if you are suspecting the Furs-Aert syndrome and the child is presenting with the respiratory abnormalities, then that can be Pierre-Robin syndrome. Large tongue, large protruding tongue which can obstruct the pharyngeal airway, so that can be Pierre-Robin syndrome. Then third syndrome is the Die-George syndrome. This is very common and in cardiac defects also I will be discussing about it. So just write down. It is 22q11.2 syndrome also. मतलब इसको 22q11 भी बोलते हैं. There is small deletion on the short arm of the 22nd chromosome. Sorry, there is deletion on the long arm, that is Q arm. So Q deletion of the long arm of chromosome number 22, and it is also known as catch22. So catch22 is the mnemonic for the Die-George syndrome. The cardiac anomalies, there can be ventricular septal defects, there can be defect in the truncus arteriosus, वो हम देखेंगे. Then abnormal facies, there is thymic hypoplasia. Why thymus is not developing? It is developing from which pouch? Thymus is developing from which pouch? Third pouch. So there is, and if the thymus will not develop, इसमें क्या होगा? Symptom क्या आएगा? Thymus forms what? T lymphocytes. So immunity will be severely affected. So thymic hypoplasia plus the parathyroid glands, the third pair of the parathyroid glands, the inferior pair that is derived from the third arch, but that is also affected. ये first arch नहीं है, इसमें first arch के भी features हो सकते हैं, पर और features भी हैं. तो catch22 से you have to remember it. And then cleft palate. So cleft palate, the parathyroid are not developed, so there will be hypocalcemia. So there is pain in the joints. The hypocalcemia and abnormal facies, there are cardiac anomalies, and there is failure to form thymus and the parathyroid. All cranial, this neural crest cells, there is deficiency of the neural crest cells. तो neural crest cells की तो फिर बहुत wide features आ गए कि किडनी भी अफेक्ट करता है, और इसे डिटेल में पढ़ो तो Die-George के बहुत सारे सिम्टम्स है, किडनीज भी अफेक्ट करता है, कार्डियक एबनॉर्मैलिटीज हैं, then there are thymic hypoplasia, cleft palate, so it is like that. अब एक समरी हम बना लेते हैं, क्योंकि हमने pharyngeal arches पढ़ ली हैं, तो हम we can make out the development of the ear. So middle ear was developing from, एक स्ट्रक्चर हमने पढ़ा था, किससे बन रहा था? मिडिल ईयर में क्या क्या है, अभी तुमने ये भी मिडिल ईयर की क्लास भी नहीं हुई है ग्रॉस एनाटॉमी में. So this is the external acoustic meatus. If we look at the structure of the ear, this is the external acoustic meatus, this is tympanic membrane, and then there are 3 ear ossicles. the handle of the malleus, it touches the tympanic membrane. There is incus, there is stapes, and then there will be oval and round windows, and then comes the inner ear. So this is the, we can say grossly, this is the structure of the ear if we move from external towards the inner ear. तो इसमें middle ear जो part है उसमें क्या है? There are 3 ear ossicles. There will be a projection from the tympanic cavity, that is the mastoid antrum and the mastoid ear cells. अब मुझे बता दो malleus और incus कौन से आर्च से डेवलप होंगे? फर्स्ट आर्च से. और स्टेपीज कौन से आर्च से? सेकेंड आर्च से. तो मिडिल ईयर में malleus and incus are developing from the first arch and stapes is developing from the second arch. Then lining of the middle ear cavity is derived from, lining of middle ear cavity, tubo-tympanic recess. First arch का कौन सा part है? Pouch, first pouch, which was forming the tubo-tympanic recess. So first pouch से, so middle ear ossicles are malleus, incus, stapes and inner lining of the tympanic membrane. अच्छा इसमें बाकी नहीं, बाकी तुम खुद ही ये कर सकते हो कि middle ear it is developing from the first pouch. Then external ear is developing from the first pharyngeal cleft. हमने देखा था external acoustic meatus, उसकी lining, tympanic membrane की lining, that was the only derivative of the cleft. क्योंकि बाकी तो सारे clefts obliterate हो गए थे, सिर्फ एक ही बचा था, कौन सा? First pharyngeal cleft, and that is forming the lining of the external acoustic meatus. Then a few words about the development of the pinna, क्योंकि ये भी abnormalities मिल जाती हैं, इसे लिखना चाहो लिख लो. ऐसे 6 auricular hillocks बनते हैं. Never, it will not be asked in the exam, but then a part of it is derived from, it is supplied by mandibular nerve of the mandibular branch of the trigeminal nerve, and its second part is supplied from lesser occipital and greater auricular nerve, क्योंकि दोनों के junction पे we can say it is developing, and 6 auricular hillocks they fuse and then they form the pinna. Tympanic membrane, if somebody asks about the development of the tympanic membrane, it is very commonly asked in the viva also. So it is derived from 3 sources, the ectoderm, mesoderm and the endoderm. Ectoderm is derived from first ectodermal cleft, and endoderm, that is derived from that same tubo-tympanic recess. So endoderm, the internal lining, because middle ear यहाँ से शुरू हो जाएगा, and in between there is mesoderm. So the tympanic membrane will be derived from all the 3 germ layers. It has got 3 layers: the cuticular, fibrous and the mucus layer. So cuticular layer will be derived from ectoderm, the fibrous layer from mesoderm, and the mucus layer will be derived from endoderm. So these are the congenital anomalies. जो 6 auricular hillocks बने थे, अगर वो बच गए तो there can be accessory auricular hillocks along with the normal pinna. There can be small ear that is known as microtia, and we have seen that in the first arch syndrome there can be abnormalities of the ear also. There can be absence of the external acoustic meatus. अगर पूरा का पूरा pharyngeal cleft है, if it won't go inside, then there will be absence of external acoustic meatus. There can be presence of the pre-auricular sinuses. ऐसे patients आते हैं, pre-auricular sinus वाला patient आता है, तो it can be congenital also. So now coming to the floor of the primitive pharynx. Development of the tongue and development of the thyroid gland. Very important from exam point of view. बाद में भी ये इन पे question बन सकता है. So development of tongue is correlated with the nerve supply of the tongue, and then we will discuss the development of the thyroid gland. These are the ventral derivatives of the endodermal pouches which will be formed in the floor of pharynx. यहाँ पे floor of pharynx में you can make out these swellings. So 3 swellings at different regions. First और second arch के level पे यहाँ पे swellings दिख रहे हैं. Then in the second swelling you can see, and then this is the third swelling. So tongue पर से अगर हम इसका डेवलपमेंट देखें तो हमें ग्रॉस स्ट्रक्चर पता होने चाहिए. क्या डिफरेंस नजर आ रहा है डॉर्सम ऑफ टंग पे? This is the anterior 2/3 portion of the tongue which is not having the lymphoid follicles, and this is the posterior 1/3 of the tongue which is covered with the we can say these are the lymphatic nodules of the tongue. So posterior 1/3 is covered with the lymphoid follicles. So tongue, the dorsum of the tongue is divided into anterior 2/3 portion and posterior 1/3 portion. The anterior 2/3 portion has got papillae, which are meant for the base of the papillae has got taste buds. So taste buds are located only on the anterior 2/3 portion of the tongue. ये तुम gross में पढ़ोगे ही. And then posterior 1/3 portion, it is covered by the lymphatic follicles. Both anterior 2/3 and posterior 1/3, they are derived from two different sources, and then there is a posterior most part of the tongue which is connected to the epiglottis by glossoepiglottic folds. So there is anterior 2/3 portion of the tongue separated from the posterior 1/3 by a sulcus. That sulcus is known as sulcus terminalis, and this sulcus, this V-shaped sulcus, the tip of the V, it has got a foramen. That foramen is known as foramen cecum. यहाँ पे लेकिन कोई ऐसा foramen दिखता नहीं है, वो है भी नहीं, बस डेवलपमेंट वाले टाइम पे वो जो V है उसे हमने क्या नाम दिया है? फोरामेन सीकम. यहीं से क्योंकि हम देखेंगे थायराइड ग्लैंड, it begins its development in this region from the foramen cecum region. So now development of the tongue. So tongue develops from the anterior 2/3 portion of the tongue. It develops from two lingual swellings and a tuberculum impar. So these two lingual swellings and a tuberculum impar, they are meant for the development of anterior 2/3 portion of the tongue. Then posterior 1/3 part of the tongue is derived from the upper portion of the second swelling, that is the copula or the hypobranchial eminence. So copula and the term hypobranchial eminence, they are synonymous, and its cranial part, it gives rise to the posterior 1/3 portion of the tongue. So two lateral swellings and one median swelling, that is tuberculum impar, they will give rise to the anterior 2/3 portion of the tongue. The second median swelling, the copula or hypobranchial eminence, they will give rise to posterior 1/3 part of the tongue. Then posterior most part of the tongue, it will be derived from fourth arch. थर्ड स्वेलिंग हम डिस्कस करेंगे, वो क्या बना रही है, कहाँ से डेवलप, इसका वो भी है हमारे पास, मॉडल भी है. सो एंटीरियर 2/3 पार्ट ऑफ द टंग इज डेवलपिंग फ्रॉम टू लैटरल लिंगुअल स्वेलिंग्स and a tuberculum impar. Then posterior 1/3 part of tongue is derived from cranial part of the copula. Sulcus terminalis, it separates the anterior from posterior, and posterior most part is derived from the fourth arch. Note down this slide. If somebody asks you, write down the development of the tongue. तो ये चार चीजें तुम्हें लिखनी है, प्लीज इसको नोट करो. तुम एग्जाम में इतना ही लिख दो, वही काफी है. Tongue is which type of organ? Is it a hollow organ, bony? It is muscular organ. And then muscles are voluntary or involuntary? Voluntary. You can move your tongue. So these voluntary muscles, they are derived from occipital myotome. So mite से इनका develop होता है, muscles वहाँ से develop हो रही है. बाकी जो है lining, that is derived from these swellings. The lateral lingual swellings, the tuberculum impar, the cranial part of the copula, and then sulcus terminalis, it is separating the anterior 2/3 and the posterior 1/3 part. जब हम अगर टू लेटरल स्वेलिंग्स और ट्यूबरकुलम इम्पार जो हैं, दे आर डेवलपिंग एट द लेवल ऑफ विच आर्च? फर्स्ट फेरेंजियल आर्च. So they will be supplied by which nerve? Mandibular nerve और a branch from the mandibular nerve. अभी हम देखेंगे इसकी nerve supply को correlate करेंगे. Then posterior 1/3 part of the tongue is developing from copula or the superior part of the hypobranchial eminence, that is developing at the level of second and third arch. But third arch covers the second arch. So nerve of the third arch will supply the posterior 1/3 part of the tongue. So what is the nerve of third arch? Glossopharyngeal nerve. So posterior 1/3 part of the tongue will be supplied by. Next slide में उसे भी note कर लेना. बस एक चीज इसमें तुम्हें याद रखनी है कि circumvallate papillae, they are located anterior to the this sulcus terminalis. So but they are supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. हालांकि वो उसकी लोकेशन ऐसी है, but they are supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. Then posterior most part is developing from fourth arch. What is the nerve of fourth arch? हाँ तुम बताओ, तुम्हारे से पीछे, हाँ मरून शर्ट में जो तुम पीछे देख रहे हो, हाँ What is the nerve of fourth arch? ये तो अभी नहीं पढ़ रहे ना, हम शुरुआत से पढ़ रहे हैं. हाँ. एंड व्हाट इज द नर्व ऑफ सिक्स्थ आर्च? अच्छा, बहुत ही अच्छी बात है, मुझे भी सुनाई दे रहा है जो वो तुम्हें हेल्प कर रहे हैं ना. पर ठीक है. द नर्व ऑफ फोर्थ आर्च इज सुपीरियर लेरेंजियल नर्व एंड नर्व ऑफ सिक्स्थ आर्च इज recurrent laryngeal nerve. So because the posterior most part is developing from fourth arch, its nerve supply will be a branch from the superior laryngeal nerve. So we can correlate the nerve supply of the tongue. Sometimes this question can also come, correlate. So motor the muscles of the tongue, they are supplied by hypoglossal nerve because they are developing from the occipital myotome. जो 12th cranial nerve है, that is the hypoglossal nerve, and it is purely motor. Which other cranial nerves are purely motor? Oculomotor and olfactory is sensory, smell नहीं आएगी, that is purely sensory. 1, 2 and 8 are purely sensory, and 3rd, 4th, 6th the muscles of the nerves which are supplying the muscles of the eye, and 12th are purely motor. So 12th cranial nerve or the hypoglossal nerve, it only supplies the muscles of the tongue, और कुछ करती ही नहीं है, कोई sensory component नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है. So muscles of the tongue, they are supplied by hypoglossal nerve. You will read in gross anatomy. Then the anterior 2/3 portion, just note down this slide also. The general sensations from the anterior 2/3 portion of the tongue, they are carried by lingual branch of mandibular division of trigeminal nerve. What do you mean by general sensations? हाँ खड़े हो जाओ. यहाँ पे लिखा है जनरल सेंसेशन एंड टेस्ट, सॉरी स्पेशल सेंसेशंस. तो जनरल सेंसेशंस क्या होते हैं? हाँ ये तो हम पहले पढ़ते हैं ना 12th तक. जनरल सेंसेशंस क्या होते हैं? What are special senses? What are general senses? Touch, pressure, vibration. तो ये जो जनरल सेंसेशंस है वो कौन लेकर जा रहा है? लिंगुअल ब्रांच ऑफ मैंडिबुलर नर्व. एंड स्पेशल सेंसेशंस ऑन द टंग, दे आर टेस्ट सेंसेशंस. सो टेस्ट सेंसेशंस विल बी कैरीड बाय कॉर्डा टिम्पेनाई ब्रांच ऑफ द फेशियल नर्व. एंड देन circumvallate papillae, though they are located on the anterior 2/3 part of the tongue, ये sulcus terminalis के anteriorly located होते हैं, but they are derived from the nerve of the third arch, that is the glossopharyngeal nerve. The nerve of the third arch, that is the glossopharyngeal nerve, it supplies both the general sensations and special sensations from posterior 1/3 part of the tongue. तो posterior 1/3 part जो है tongue का, उसके लिए दोनों ही sensations कौन ले जा रहा है? Glossopharyngeal nerve. Similarly, posterior most portion close to the epiglottis, It is supplied by superior laryngeal branch of vagus, which carries both sensations, the general sensations as well as the taste sensations. So we can correlate the nerve supply of the tongue with its development. Now these are some of the congenital abnormalities associated with the tongue. थायराइड हम नेक्स्ट क्लास में कर लेंगे. टंग के साथ में जो कंजेनाइटल अनॉमलीज हैं वो है एंकाइलोग्लोसिया और टंग टाई. देयर इज a frenulum portion of the tongue which attaches the tongue to the root of the mouth. So if that is short or it extends to the tip, one cannot move the tongue freely. So that condition is known as ankyloglossia or tongue tie. Then there can be macroglossia, there can be large tongue, there can be cleft tongue also. Incomplete fusion of the lateral swellings can result in the cleft tongue. We will discuss the development of the thyroid in the next class.